Good morning, everyone. I was hoping I can actually add some people here onto our call so that we can get started. So I'll plug people in. I'm very curious to hear what drew you into this particular webinar for this morning. So I'm going to go ahead and share my presentation, and as people log on, I will go ahead and ask you what did I state as far as creating your immersive, how we're going to create immersive experience as part of your online marketing social media plan. I wanted to see what is it that I said that actually caught your attention. So to jump right to it, I am going to cover the return on engagement and what that means. And as I'm talking here throughout this webinar, I want you to remember the 4 I's. One is involvement. How can you involve your fans to actually get involved with what you have to say? Again, the key thing about creating content for your marketing plan is what can you say that will encourage people to share? Okay, that's the biggest thing right now. So involvement, how can you involve them in the process? How will you influence them to get them to want to share what you have to say? The most important part is interactivity, because as soon as you get them interacting with your brand, with your content, or whatever it is that you're sharing, if it's a video, if it's a Google Hangout, if it's a Twitter post, if it's a video trivia contest, or any sort of contesting you have going on with your campaign, the key thing is that they have a tangible way to interact with what you are sharing. And last and foremost is intimacy, the emotional connection that draws your fans to want to know more about you, how they feel when they are engaging with you online, and how you are elevating that experience for them online to get them to take the next steps, which will then turn into your return on your investment. So an overview of what we're going to talk about today is how to improve your content development cycle, which in turn will affect your marketing cycle and then your ROI. Effective content creation strategies to convert traffic into data, which is the big key thing here. Again, all of your efforts and how you're going to capture that data so that you can then turn it into your ROI. And then last and foremost is how to understand the social media algorithms that is involved in this, and then gamification techniques that will affect your content when you want to repurpose it. So first, I'm going to go over tracking your return on engagement, which is ROE for your social media outreach. What are not only your goals, but also your client goals, if you're doing this for yourself or for your client. So the question, or I mean, the statement that I hear is, I just want them to know I exist. So if that's the case, well, here are different ways you can go about doing it. It's increasing brand awareness. The campaign strategies that you're going to create when you're building brand awareness, there's ways to do it. You could do social good campaigns where you're actually going to perhaps donate to a nonprofit organization. At the end of the day, it's doing something that has like that feel-good community that will get everyone on board to advocate what you're saying. And then there's also, of course, increasing the social media presence. And the way, the metrics that you know that this is working for you is, one, number of organic conversations created online. You want people, again, getting involved at a level where they are organically talking about you. And when I say organic, I mean it's not the press or the media that's building buzz around you. It's actual people, going back to that whole word of mouth marketing, but online, where people are very excited about what you have to say, and then they're talking about you. Then you start reviewing how many mentions took place when you launched your campaign or content, any type of content, especially with video. For example, when you launch a video on YouTube, within the first 24 hours, already you can see what the absorption rate looks like, how many views you're getting. Same thing with the Facebook media posts. When you post something, how many likes start to roll in within the first hour. Those are the key metrics you're looking at within the release. The first 24 hours are so critical. If it doesn't go viral then it won't. The next is retweets. Hashtag, if it's starting to trend. if you are using Pinterest. I'm not going to go too much into Pinterest. I just wanted to go over just an overview of what these metrics look like. But that will be an example. If you're on Pinterest, how many repins there are. What's beautiful about Twitter and Facebook now, as you know, there's constant updates and changes happening. And one of the best things is when you upload your video directly onto Facebook, you can actually see how many views there are on your video, and also the impressions, how many people actually saw that particular post. Same thing with Twitter. Each tweet that you send out, you can see the number of impressions for that particular post. What that tells you is how the time, like if it's effective, as far as if you're posting something around noon versus posting something at 6 a.m., what is getting more impressions? Because what that tells you is your audience is online at that hour, checking out what you have to say. And then last and foremost, of course, is how it's affecting your fan base, your followers, your subscribers, etc. So here is, I want customers. This is now where you're engaging them at the influential level, and what is happening to lead to these types of return on engagement activities. So you see them signing up for your workshops, registering for Google Hangout, the number of RSVPs, people actually watching your show, people actually tuning into your radio show. Now they're getting involved at another level of what you have to say. And again, the key thing here, and what I'm trying to share with you all, is social media is exactly that. It's all about how you're interacting online. It's keeping in touch with them socially and using these tools that makes it so much easier to network online. If it's via LinkedIn, or if it's, again, via Facebook, everyone engages differently on these different networks. And how are you tapping into each one to continue that social interaction? Going into the goals again, if they want customers, this is when you start to measure where the referrals came from, which particular website. And like I mentioned earlier, are they coming from LinkedIn? Are they coming from Facebook? Are they coming from Twitter? You know, there are your network that are interested more on what you have to say at a personal level, versus there are your networks that are interested in what you have to say from a business standpoint, if you're sharing business advice, etc. And you have to see how they're engaging with you when you start posting, where you either hear crickets or you're going to hear applause of what you have to say. And then here's just very quickly some software you can use. There's a ton out there. Here's a couple that I'm sharing with you down here: the Sprout Social, Hootsuite, Social Bro, or Nation Builder, which I'm not going to go into right now. That would be for next time. We can go over all the different tools and which ones are best to use. But right now, I just wanted to briefly mention it. So moving along, we have interactivity and then intimacy. So this is what I was saying earlier. What I love about Google Hangout, even if you're not in the huge volume of like 1,000 people tuning in, well, again, that's what's nice about Google Hangout. It does stream live, but at the same time, when people actually join in on the conversation, the live interaction, and how you're deepening your relationships at a social media level is great. There's a lot of folks that I've met online, and because of Google Hangout, I was able to meet them using this particular tool, and it has actually turned into invitations for speaking opportunities. It has turned into referrals as to prospect clients, etc. Because now you're taking it to a deeper level of engaging with your audience. So I wanted to use this particular case study of tagging, how people will post something, and if you tag this particular picture, you tag 3 friends, you get the chance to win X prize. So this was an interesting little post that I was actually following. Lori Harder in particular has 22,000 followers. And within 2 hours of this post, she got 86 likes for these pair of pants. There were 40 comments, and each comment, there were 40 comments, and then within those comments, they were tagging 3 people. So very quick math, 120 people at the end of the day got tagged with these pants. Now moving along, in 3 hours, she got 101 likes. But if you see 10 hours later, it definitely trailed off because now we're looking at 129 likes. Going back to what I was saying earlier, you know, within the first hour or two, how well this is going to run. She had 89 comments by the end of the day. 261 people were actually tagged. And to me, a 0.006 conversion is not very, doesn't run really good for me if I'm a sponsor that I want to get exposure for, let's say, these pants that I'm giving away. At the end of the day, only 261 people got tagged out of 22,000 followers. And again, where is my conversion? How many people actually know about my brand when they were talking about these pair of pants? And did it actually irritate those who were tagged to be part of this contest that they did not ask to be a part of? Do you understand? This is where, again, I go back to, in the past, this used to go, you know, a lot of people used to share using this tactic because it would, you know, a lot of people, it would literally go viral. But at the end of the day, are you getting other people angry? And that's where you need to be careful with your brand and who you're asking to pretty much promote what your product is all about, because at the end of the day, that person who's going to go about and doing it, you got to ask, of course, how are you going to go about and reaching out to your fan base when you're going to share my products? Because if they're going to end up irritating maybe half of 261 people that they tagged, then I won't say that's a successful tactic right there. The next thing is flipping the script. It was quite interesting. Extreme Martial Arts created a martial art history month and created a video using one of these producers, which was okay because he was on YouTube and he had it publicly where everyone can use it, and definitely caught the attention of this video producer who loves to track martial arts, doing really cool tricks, which is called, you know, doing flips, and they call it tricking. Like it's all tricks. Which here it says, tricking is a community of artistic athletes who express themselves through distinctive combinations of kicks and acrobatics. So what happened? He created this quiz and shared it within his community. And within the first hour, not only was it being shared amongst the community, but we actually saw 400 registrations come in. When I say registrations, I mean, we're talking about within the first hour. We're not talking about just buzz. We're not just talking about retweets. We're not talking about mentions. We're talking about people actually entering their name, email address, and their data, their information, so that they can be recognized, that they know all about this particular tricking community and they know what it involves. And this was someone who at the time had 2,000 followers. I think, I can't remember where he's at now. He's definitely more than 5,000 followers at this point. But again, going back to just 2,000 followers with 400 registrations within the first hour, I would say it's a very good metric there. So you understand a little bit about what these quizzes look like if you haven't seen it already. We have a wine lover quiz to share with you all. Let me see. I'm going to stop sharing the screen because I have to switch the browser. Stop. Hello. Back to me again. So now I'm going to actually pull up a browser of that wine quiz. I know it's not happy hour right now, but I'm sure some, let's see, I don't want to say, but somewhere it's 5 o'clock. That's just beaten to death. Okay, here we go. Now I have to share it back with you. Go back to screen share. Okay, so when you pick a game on Rivet.com, again, Rivet.com is the platform that allows you to create these quizzes. You're going to watch it for 15 seconds, and then you are going to answer the question that follows the question. I'm only going to do 2 questions just so you get the idea of what it's all about. And as you can see, the leaderboard right here immediately to the right-hand side.
Great finish.
So we see here a bottle that says Joseph Phelps insignia.
This collaborative effort, this team approach, results in world-class wines. And
there you go. Which California-based winery produces the expensive and highly rated insignia label? And they were showing the bottle right there, which was Joseph Phelps.
Argentina was a distant second to Chile in the late 90s. Now it is a distant first. Been interesting. I wonder how they feel down there. It might be a little bit of a battle. Uruguay with its Tanat, I think will be making some noise in the...
Who is this popular social media advocate and host of the online video series Wine Library TV? Gary Vaynerchuk, if you haven't heard of him. And there you go. That gives you an idea of the process of what it looks like to watch the video for 15 seconds. So you can ask how many bottles you see here, what hill does this come from, what type of wine is it, and then you can actually see who is scoring. And what's nice is when you create this video, you can easily take this code and actually embed it into your website for free and create a video. I wasn't paying attention. So let me stop this so it doesn't continue. But here's all the different channels. And if you also want to sponsor one in particular, you have this here as well, like the Battle of the Fashionistas. And that's where I'm going to go to next, is creating a look and feel that actually ties in with what you have to share. So before I jump ahead, let me go back to the presentation and make sure I'm sharing the right screen with you all. So I have to switch slides here. Okay, from current slide. Then the quiz that you experience, would you say it tapped into your decision-making skills, your attention? You wanted to make sure you were paying attention so you can answer the correct answer. And how did you feel if you got the right answer or the wrong answer? And this is where we were talking about that emotional connection, going back to the 4 I's, the intimacy, interaction, how this is very interactive from the standpoint of you actually physically in a tangible way connecting with the content by having to answer the question. And not only that, but also engaging your community, because you also want to see how your friends will, if you see your friends already listed on the leaderboard, you want to see if you can beat that person. Or on the other hand, I would say you want to share with your friends to see if they also enjoy this quiz as well. So here with flipping the script, you will see the level of engagement as far as how many quizzes they played. They didn't just stop at 1 quiz. You'll see some ventured into playing 8 quizzes, 6 quizzes, etc. So that also goes to show the level of retention of how often people returned to continue playing the game. So what this also speaks in very, very high volume is who is your audience. So let's say you own a clothing store and you have these women or men walking in your store. There's a purpose. What was the need? What was the level of urgency that drew them to walk in your store? Do they have an important business meeting coming up? Do they have a business travel to attend to? Are they going out on a date? So if these are the different reasons as to why they're walking in your store, and you find quite often, maybe you have a trendy store and you see mostly, you know, single women coming in, I would totally jump on the bandwagon of creating a ton of content on dating tips, on fashion tips, so that they're still on the cutting edge of what's out there as far as fashion trends. This is where the Battle of the Fashionistas can come into play. Battle it out, see how well they truly know their fashion trends and their shoes and their brands, etc. And again, you're engaging them on content that they're completely into. Then you have, and then of course even have it in the store, right then and there, where they can immediately enter their data in order to play the game, and then they can also win a fun giveaway from your store. There you go. You have here rock and metal. If you notice that your audience is more in their rock fans, or if they're more moms, you have a mom advice column. Responsible charity as far as a nonprofit organization. We did something similar here with South Bland Mall, where they have a literacy campaign, and for 1,000 readers, $1,000 was donated to a nonprofit organization. And this is the different ways you can plug and play. So what we're going back to here is community driven, focus in tapping into a particular niche, so that now you're speaking the same language within the community, and therefore not only are they going to get more engaged in what you have to say, but at the same time they're going to want I want to say they want to see, again, when you're tapping into a niche, for the most part, they all know each other. And that's why the shareability is such a high rate, because you're tapping into a niche where everyone has things in common. And so they also tend to know each other. There's a lot of overlap in that world, especially online. So focus on preteens. Well, your content should be geared towards music, extreme sports. And that's where now your content strategy will now come into play as to what you should say. What we're staring at here is a channel that was built particularly for an orthodontist who works with preteens and wanted to create so we created a channel particularly about teen talk. And here you will see the look and feel, again, the image of what you're trying to get across to also match the community and what they would want to engage with. We have here Don't Text and Drive game, which evolved to getting content from that particular channel to feed this white label solution, because what was going on was this particular problem he cared about to bring to light was preteens are creating a bad habit of texting rather than communicating. So we incorporated this content from that Teen Talk channel, which is where you see the Mercedes-Benz on the left-hand side, you know, fast cars, all that types of stuff that they love, and then placed a iPhone on the right that we programmed to text them while they were playing the game. And we were basing off of, if you notice right here, it says participation points. We don't want to, of course, reward someone for doing well in this game. At the end of the day, we're trying to create, this purpose of the game was to demonstrate the dangers of texting while driving, and that you do not have that same level of multitasking skills as they say they do when they're actually playing and when they're texting. So that's how we put it to the test. They were playing the game, answering questions on the left-hand side, and then on the right-hand side, they actually had to answer the text. If they didn't engage on both sides, the game would completely deactivate and they would have to start all over again. So within 40 days of launch, not only did his Facebook likes and interactions increase by 1,000%, it totally skyrocketed. Parents were playing the game. Teens were calling in to see if they won movie tickets. What I'm getting at is the importance of reaching your, I want to say the decision maker. And at the end of the day, the parents were the decision maker. So it was actually quite a success to see that the parents were engaging more with this game, more so than the kids. So again, it was about building brand awareness, and he used a social good, like what I was presenting earlier, social good campaigning, in order to tap into an actual problem that was going on at the time, and it probably still is actually. I don't even say the time, but it was definitely tapping into a hot topic. And then coming out on the front cover of his local magazine, the news media showed up at his store, at his practice, and interviewed him, and so he came out in the news as well. So this is what I was mentioning earlier, and just want to recap again. Match what the community likes with the feel of your content. As you can see, you have the guitar in the background, the drumsticks, etc., even the look of the logo, which is of no particular company. It was just to match the look and feel of your community. Back to brand imaging. So when we talk about social media, like someone coined the word social media trinity, which I really, really love, because it encompasses 3 different things. What can you talk about that will create large conversation And large meaning like what happened with that particular Don't Text and Drive game. It created a lot of buzz amongst the community, even at birthday parties, get-togethers, and that's what you want at the end of the day, people to talk about it offline, so it gets them to go back on their computer or their phone and Google and check it out themselves. At the end of the day, that's what it's all about, is coming back to your brand, returning to it. So you have here strong sentiment. This was definitely a very positive message coming out, and something that hit very strong to the community. And sometimes it can be very negative and can get a lot of buzz in that way as well, if you want to go down that route. Strong sentiments will, and as long as you're tapping into, again, that intimacy that I mentioned earlier, that emotional connection to get people, that will drive them to get online and say what they have to say. And then organic conversation, which I did mention earlier, people talking about this organically. So here on Facebook, I wanted to share, I already know with my community, Facebook, again, I feel it's still going to be around to stay. It's funny when people are like, oh, it's dead, it's dead. Well, you know, a lot of people really love using it for families, staying in touch with their friends. It's the easiest way and within 10 minutes to catch up on what's going on in other people's lives, especially if you have friends and relatives in distant places. And it's just moving to the next level. As you know, Facebook purchased Oculus, and Oculus does all of those virtual reality headsets, and Facebook spent billions of dollars in acquiring that because they want to get to another level of tapping into other people's lives, not only through videos and pictures, but actual these helmets where you can truly see what the person is doing real time. So if it's Beyonce at a concert and it feels like you're standing right behind her and seeing the same thing she is, where regular folks like you and I can actually use it as well. So you can see what we're going, like if we're taking the grandkids to the playground, you can actually almost feel like you're right there with them as they're running up to you. That's where this is going now. Like all those Tom Cruise movies we see, right? Anyway, so we have action shots. They love that, like anything that's in the making, behind the scenes. They love it when I post major milestones of what's going on in my business, which is why I showed this, you know, when I was on the radio interview. And then what trends on Facebook. Some people get frustrated. You know, I posted a picture of my cat, and that's getting more comments than me posting about this particular milestone in my business. Why? Well, again, it's trending. So what will appear is not the latest post that you have. What's going to appear on the news feed of all of your network are essentially what has the most likes, what has the most comments, because the algorithm with Facebook is based off of what's creating the most interaction. Okay, so that's what you're seeing there. Whenever you, what's nice about seeing a particular post from a friend is not necessarily the latest thing. It's important to actually click on their name and then actually see on their news, on their wall, what is actually happening recently in their lives, because what you're seeing right now is it could be 2-3 weeks old and it's just trending then, who knows, or it's still going. People they're familiar with, people love seeing faces they know. So whenever you're creating a campaign that you can engage folks from the community, be part of an event or whatnot that you're doing, and you're tagging them at that level because they're actually there, then that makes sense, because they are opting in to be there, not the tagging process that takes place when you have no idea what's going on and all of a sudden you're being tagged at being at a location that you weren't even invited to, you're not even there. That's a no-no. And then of course anything that's absolute shock value, you know, when people announce anything shocking, it's going to trend, it's going to get people talking, because again it goes back to the whole strong sentiment that I mentioned earlier from the social media trinity. So here's the techniques that work. On the right hand side, I mentioned using Facebook scheduling feature. You want to schedule directly into Facebook because again, that's another algorithm that they put into play. They know when you're using third-party softwares. The third-party softwares, I love using it for its reporting mechanisms. At the end of the day, it's good to see, you know, how many followers. That's where you look at the conversions of how everything is working for you. And that's why I like to use that. And then and all of these other things I've mentioned earlier in our conversations. So here, as you know, if you're the one that's building out content for your online marketing strategies, As you understand, you got to listen and watch what your audience looks like, which I mentioned when you're tapping into a niche. Then you decide, okay, this is the theme or topic I'm going to cover. Like when I was talking about owning a clothing store, or even if it's a bathing suit store, you know, for the most part, they're traveling, lifestyle, they're boating, you know, they're going out boating, or they're going to travel abroad. So, you know, you want to talk about travel destinations if that's the case. So that's when you decide, okay, this is the topic we're going to cover. Then you start the process of creating this content. Naturally, you promote it, you measure and evaluate. This is where we go into the ROE/ROI phase, and then you repurpose it. And this is what's the beauty of this particular platform that we co-founded, is that there's a lot of content out there that can be easily repurposed and turned into video trivia contests. And it's such a nice way to plug and play it using the Rivets platform that we got very excited in being able to empower our community and our users of creating share-worthy content in such an easy way. So going back to how marketing is happening right now, you want to turn off the promotional side of things, like register. A lot of there's people I see still out there, register for my event, link to my event, please tell your friends about this. It's just too salesy. People don't like that. It's a turn off. People are more into how it makes them feel. That's where marketing has turned into. What is the experience like, and being part of this process and the interaction, tangibly, actually physically touching that particular product or brand, if it's online or even at an event, how are they truly interacting with it? So here, for example, if you have your audience already engaged on a particular video trivia contest and they love the content, they're enjoying how they're ranking, so, you know, congratulate them every week, you know, showcase who is the top scorer of that channel, and that they'll be featured in their blog, for naturally showing that they have a lot of knowledge about your content. And then that's where you can have, again, a call to action of to RSVP. It's right then and there, after you've elevated the experience, you have that feeling of RSVP for my workshop, as you can see on the bottom right. So if you have any types of events or anything going on, or an app you want them to download, this is the perfect place to promote what you have, any types of conversions you're looking for. Here's another example of another channel of a City Hall restaurant in Miami, Shaken Not Stirred, Play and Win. That's the announcement across the top. And again, it's great to have these giveaways, but I can't say that that is the #1 reason why people do it. There are people, and I would say it's a smaller scale, that are driven by free giveaways. There are that group of folks and community, but I would have to say the biggest #1 behavior that I see is this leaderboard. It is so key. They need to see their friends involved. When they see the community and so is playing this game, the curiosity kills the cat. Well, here you go. The curiosity gets people to play, and how well they're gonna do above their friends. And again, it's another way to connect and feel like you're connecting with them online too. And again, it creates conversation between them. So this is where we saw our stats, that when they were connecting, especially on the channels, they proceeded to click like, because on every channel we actually incorporate your Facebook page. So if everyone wants, after they play and engage with your trivia contest, they want to know more about you. And this is what happens. They go ahead and click on like. 40% of them actually share your content. They share the trivia quiz with their friends. 13% tend to submit a request to learn more about your product or service. And then we saw a 50% return rate. After they engaged it with the channel for the first time, they will come back. This is just stats that we saw on our end. Of course, you could see how it works with you when you embed our quizzes into your website and see how it's working. We would love to hear back as to how it's working for you after you deploy. And we are available, of course, to consult and continue to lead the way on that. So again, this is where I mentioned the repeating of the traffic and how the audience challenges their friends to play. And then demographics, you're collecting their age, their gender, the location, the type of games they're playing, shows their interest, if they're a movie buff, wine lover, history. This is more so on the rivet.com because they venture into playing other games, and then I get more data on that. But it also goes back to what type of games you're creating on your end and see what who engages the most. Like the comic book world, that one really took off. They really love to be challenged on their comic trivia. And viewer retention, which I mentioned earlier. And then now we're going to do ROIs. How much data did you gather? Website registrations, online accounts that open, how many app downloads took place, newsletters, who actually opted in for your newsletter or e-blast signups. If you have any ebook giveaways, how many people downloaded that? Again, that's the data. And then after that, how many people requested more info after they engaged in collecting your information. Here are other ways. The fashion shows. This was a fashion show where we were showcasing 3D. Our games are 3D enabled, so you can play it on that as well. The opening of a store where you can, it was a fun interactive surfing, and at the same time challenging them on their surfing trivia or movies. And again, all they have to do is just watch and then answer the questions. And there's definitely 3 different ways to approach the type of trivia content you're going to create. If it's cognitive awareness, like they have to see, let's say, what color was the shoe that this person was wearing, versus memory recall, because it's based on what they're seeing. And then last and foremost, if they're more of a trivia expert, then you'll ask, like, what's the name of the flying car in Back to the Future, which is technically the DeLorean, but it's like you just show the car flying and they have to just know that just by seeing it. Here's the literacy campaign I mentioned earlier from Southland Law. Here we had 3 event reps at the location, actually enlisting 20 readers per hour. So with 3 reps, we were experiencing 60 registrations per hour each weekend that this particular campaign took place for the mall. Here we have a MAC giveaway. There was a speaker who spoke on her speaking engagement and then did a MAC giveaway after the fact. So that's another way to draw people to come back to your site after you have a meeting or speaking engagement. And then, as you saw, the gamification creates engagement, buzz. Is it worth their time to actually talk about this? Yes. And then the impact that makes them remember your product. Top mind marketing awareness for sure, top level. And this is the creation process as to what is involved if you choose to do your own video. And what's nice about using these YouTube videos is that, again, they are public. So you are allowed to reuse them and repurpose them for your benefit as far as what type of knowledge you want to share. But what I wanted to show here is the value of how easy it is to leverage versus doing everything from scratch, which again, you're more than open to if you have the budget to do it. But the value of using Rivet is that you're done in 5 minutes. Here you go, you can create a quiz and you can see how easy it is. Actually, I'm going to go back to, it's a breakdown. Right here, you can create the quiz name. Step 1, the description, what category it falls under. Choose that video. You can preview it. It's already auto-populated with YouTube, and we can change it with Vimeo or Brightcove if that's easier for you. The blue bar that you see right here, you drag that in order to capture the 15-second soundbite of what you want to say for that particular video clip. You answer the question, and then underneath you answer the correct answer, and then the incorrect answer. And then last is you can drag and drop the order of the questions, or you can edit and delete your questions before you go ahead and publish it. And that's it. And then you're done within 5 minutes. So thank you, everyone, for those who tuned in to hear what we have to offer. Of course, videotriviagames.com, which is the business side of Rivet, there we actually have promotions for this month, where if you sign up for 3 months, not only will you get a free consultation from me for 1 hour, sit down to actually build out what you can say about the content you want to build, but also using the access to the channels where you can capture data and such and deploy. There is a trailer that was used for this particular Google Hangout if you want to click and check it out. Again, it's on videotriviagames.com. You can see it there, and it actually gives you an overview of how Rivet works. Thank you so much.